There are two things I know better than anything else. 1. How to spot a lie. And 2. How to watch people without being seen. Both come from doing the night shift for 12 years straight. I'm not talking about cushy overnight jobs where you sip coffee and stare at a monitor in a well-lit building. I'm talking warehouse-sized, dead quiet, HVAC rattling, echo down the aisles kind of night shift, where the only company you've got is your flashlight and the occasional mouse in the break room. I worked overnight security at a big box hardware chain, the kind of place that sells everything from plumbing supplies to patio furniture. Graveyard shift, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Me, one old Dell monitor, a bundle of security cameras, and a checklist that hasn't changed since Obama was president. I liked it. The stillness, the routine, the absence of people. You see a lot more when nobody thinks they're being watched. My wife, Hannah, on the other hand, she hated the hours. It's like you live in a different time zone, she'd say. That was fair. Most nights, I got home around 6:30, just as she was getting ready for her job at the elementary school. She was a counselor. Smart, warm, loved by everyone. She had that trusted friend energy that people open up to over coffee. It's part of what made me fall for her in the first place. The change started small. One Thursday, about 4 months ago, she told me she was going to ladies' game night. Her friend Leah's house. Said it was long overdue. She usually went in sweatpants and a hoodie, maybe with a ponytail if she felt like it. But this time, she took a shower, put on makeup, styled her hair, wore perfume, tight jeans, and a low-cut black top I hadn't seen in 2 years. I was halfway through brushing my teeth when I noticed. Game night getting fancy? I asked through a mouthful of foam. She gave a little laugh. Leah invited some of her work friends. Said I should look presentable. I nodded, spat, and said, "Looks good on you." "Thanks," she replied, without looking at me. She left at 6:15. Came back at midnight. Now, normally I'd chalk it up to harmless girl time. She'd come back a little buzzed, smelling like cheap wine and garlic dip. But that night, she came back flushed. Nervous. Hair mussed like she'd been running. And she didn't smell like garlic. She smelled like a hotel hallway. Soap and unfamiliar cologne. I didn't say anything. Yet. The next few weeks followed a pattern. Thursday game nights turned into weekly glam sessions. She'd shower, dress up, throw on her special night makeup. Once, I walked past the bathroom and saw her shaving places she usually reserved for anniversaries and beach trips. Something was off. I could feel it. You don't spend over a decade watching people try to shoplift pressure washers and cordless drills without learning how to spot suspicious behavior. One night, after she left for game night, I sat in my car in the driveway a little longer than usual, staring at my own house, asking myself if I was losing it. Was I being paranoid? Insecure? Jealous? Maybe. But then came the slip. It was mid-March. Spring hadn't fully arrived yet, but the air had started getting warmer. Hannah was gone again for her game night, and I'd just finished my third round of camera sweeps around aisle 17. Around 11:45, I checked my phone and saw a text from Leah, her game night host. In the group chat we were both part of for birthday party planning. OMG, I haven't laughed that hard since the rafter joke, face with tears of joy, face with tears of joy, face with tears of joy. Hannah replied right after. Don't remind me. I'll never look at would stain the same again, woman face palming. I stared at it. The rafter joke? Would stain? I scrolled up. There was no context. Just laughing. A few emojis. And then Leah's next text. Tell him not to bring that belt again. Face with tears of joy, you two are too much. You too. I stared at that phrase like it was glowing. Because if this was really a ladies-only game night, who the hell was him? I waited. Watched. That Sunday, Hannah and I were out for coffee with a few of her friends. Casual brunch vibe. I kept it light. Smiled. Laughed at the right moments. But then I turned to Leah and said, "Hey, what's this rafter joke thing you all keep texting about?" Leah blinked. "Oh, that," she said, trying to laugh it off. "Just something Mark said. He's hilarious." I raised an eyebrow. "Mark?" She caught herself. "Oh, he's just someone Hannah used to know. Back in college." Hannah froze. Like I'd shut off her battery mid-sentence. I sipped my coffee. Let them squirm. "Oh yeah?" I asked. "We ever met?" Leah's face went white. Hannah jumped in. "No, you haven't. It's nothing. He just stopped by for a drink. Once." I nodded. Just a wood stain expert, huh?" She didn't laugh. I didn't press. But that night, as I watched the security feeds roll by on my monitor at 2 a.m., I realized something. I'd been guarding a building for 12 years, but I'd stopped guarding my marriage. That was about to change, and it was going to start with a few cables and a little creativity. The thing about being a night shift security guard is, people assume you're invisible. You blend into the walls. You're just the guy who walks around with a flashlight. What they forget is that I have eyes everywhere. Literally. Every corner of that big box hardware store was under surveillance, not just for theft, but for liability, training, asset protection. You name it. So when I decided to start watching my wife's lies the same way I watched the store, I already had the blueprint. It started with the store reopening. See, our location had just finished a massive remodel. New signage, upgraded inventory software, brighter LED fixtures, fresh paint over the breakroom graffiti. Corporate was planning a grand relaunch weekend, ribbon-cutting ceremony, giveaways, family activities. A total PR spectacle. And the crown jewel? A demo reel playing non-stop in the main lobby. A curated highlight video of a day in the life of our store's security tech. Basically, an infomercial for how safe and state-of-the-art we were. I'd been asked to help put it together. Something clean, impressive, my manager said. Make corporate feel like the remodel money was worth it. I told him I'd handle it. What I didn't tell him was that I already had footage. Not of theft, not of safety drills, but of Hannah. See, 2 weeks earlier, I'd installed a little extra hardware in the store's upstairs breakroom. A blind spot that corporate didn't care about because employees rarely used it. Technically, it wasn't approved, but I had full access to the network and admin-level override codes. I caught a glimpse of her once. Late one Thursday night, after game night, when she came to drop off my dinner. She said she was passing by and figured I could use a sandwich. She stayed 10 minutes. What she didn't say was that she wasn't alone. The camera saw it all. Him, the tall guy, navy shirt, short-cropped beard, name badge tucked behind his back pocket. They talked close, real close. He touched her waist, gently, like someone who's done it 100 times. She laughed at something he whispered, kissed him once on the cheek, then twice on the mouth. I paused the feed, rewound, played it again. That wasn't someone she used to know. That was someone she was still knowing, if you catch my drift. And the worst part? I recognized him. His name was Kyle. He'd just been hired as our new assistant store manager. Corporate golden boy. Transferred from a location in Tennessee. The kind of guy who wore cologne to a forklift certification training and thought calling people champ was endearing. Now he was apparently helping my wife through her game nights. It took a lot not to put my fist through the monitor. But anger doesn't get you results. Planning does. So I got to work. Over the next week, I copied the footage. Cut it. Cleaned it. Enhanced the audio just enough. I didn't need anything graphic. Just the hug, the kiss, the low-lit smirk he gave her before she left. Then I built a custom segment into the security demo reel. See, most of the reel was harmless. Time-lapse footage of the loading docks. A cute clip of a lost kid being reunited with their mom. Slow pans of the new LED aisles, complete with corporate voiceover. And then, right at minute 4:16, a segment labeled, Breakroom Vulnerability Test, live recording. It was subtle, just 5 seconds long. But in those 5 seconds, you saw Hannah. You saw Kyle. You saw the kiss. Then it cut back to happy music and footage of our garden center. Corporate wouldn't notice unless they were watching closely. But Hannah? She'd see it the second it played. I made sure of that. The demo was scheduled to loop every 15 minutes on the 65-inch flat screen mounted above the customer service desk. Right at the front of the store. Right where the ribbon cutting would happen. Right where Hannah promised she'd stand, supporting her husband, she said, for the big event. She had no idea I'd already built her a starring role. That Thursday night, the night before the reopening, she kissed me goodbye like everything was normal. I'll swing by tomorrow, she said. Probably around noon. Leah and I were going to do lunch first. Perfect, I said. We're something nice. The camera loves you. She laughed. God, that laugh used to be the best sound in the world. Now it sounded like a siren. After she left, I went to work finalizing the loop. Made sure the segment was embedded just deep enough to get past the marketing manager's review, but not so hidden it wouldn't play. I had timing, placement, audio, all of it mapped like a floor plan. Then I sent the final cut to the A/V team with the subject line. Lobby Reel V5, final approved. They didn't question it. Why would they? I was the quiet guy who walked around with a clipboard and a keycard. The guy who worked nights so nobody else had to. Who'd never raised his voice or filed a single complaint. Nobody suspects the night guard. That morning, I went home, made eggs, and waited. Around 11:45, Hannah texted. Leah's running late. I'm heading over solo. Be there soon, kiss mark. I stared at the screen. Replied. Great. You'll love what we're showing off. She replied with a winky face. The kind she used to send me when she was still mine. At 12:07, the doors opened. Employees clapped. A few corporate folks stood around sipping bad coffee from promotional cups. Kyle was there, of course, wearing a blue button-up that probably cost more than my car payment, shaking hands with every manager within reach. And then Hannah walked in. Fully white top, sunglasses, gold earrings I'd given her on our 5th anniversary. She walked up beside Kyle, said something I couldn't hear. He smiled. Then he touched her elbow. And right then, the monitor above them shifted. The loop played. Break room angle. Kyle. Hannah. The kiss. Her hand brushing his collar. A customer service associate looked up mid-bagging and gasped. Loud. Kyle noticed first. He turned, confused, looking at the monitor. Then his face changed. He saw it. He saw them. And right behind him, Hannah saw it too. She froze. Like a deer on blacktop. Every eye turned to the screen. Then to her. Then to me. I stood across the lobby, arms folded, calm as steel. And for the first time in months, she had no words. You ever hear silence get heavy? That's what hit the lobby the second that 5-second clip finished playing. Not gasps. Not yelling. Just this weird, suffocating vacuum of sound. The kind of stillness that happens when people aren't sure if they just witnessed a glitch or the beginning of a scandal. The screen flicked back to corporate music and a cheerful montage of smiling employees unloading boxes and helping old ladies find light bulbs. But no one was looking at the screen anymore. They were looking at her. Hannah, still frozen. Sunglasses hanging from one ear. Mouth slightly open like she was halfway through a word and forgot how to finish it. One hand clutched the strap of her purse like it might hold her upright. Kyle, on the other hand, turned 10 shades of red. Then white. Then something in between, like a man trying to decide whether to run, vomit, or lie his way through a forest fire. Behind them, a woman from corporate, tailored blazer, tablet in hand, looked up at the screen again, then down at her notes, then slowly turned to look at Kyle like she'd just discovered mold under her desk. I didn't move. I stood on the other side of the lobby, arms folded across my chest, expression flat. They knew. They all knew. It took about 10 seconds for Hannah to find her voice. She spun toward Kyle and hissed something I couldn't hear, but I saw the words in her mouth. You told me there were no cameras. His reply wasn't verbal. Just a shrug and a nervous glance toward the ceiling like he might spot a red blinking light. Too late for that now. People started whispering. An older cashier from Garden and Patio made the sign of the cross and muttered, Lord save him. Someone's kid pointed at the monitor and said, That's not the commercial, Mommy. The floor manager tried to step in. Okay, folks, let's get back to the fun. Hot dogs out front, raffle signups over here. But it was over. The energy had been sucked out of the room like someone cracked a window in a pressure chamber. Kyle made the first move. He straightened his shirt, tried to shake it off, and turned to the corporate rep with a little fake chuckle. Bit of a glitch, huh? That wasn't meant to be in there. Just a test file. Old footage. She looked at him like he was gum stuck to her shoe. Who authorized that? He stammered. That's when I stepped forward. Calm. Steady. My boots thudded just enough against the tile for people to hear me coming. I walked up beside them, nodded politely to the woman with the tablet, and said, That was part of the break room vulnerability test section. Final version. File was approved last night by the A/V team. Kyle turned. You? I raised a hand. Don't. Just don't. He looked like he wanted to keep talking, to spin, to lie, to do anything but stand there in front of that screen while the image of him kissing a married woman looped on every smartphone now filming the fallout. Hannah finally broke. Why? She snapped at me, low and tight. Why would you do this? You embarrassed me in public. I turned to her. Locked eyes. You embarrassed yourself, I said. I just made sure the lighting was good. She flinched, then straightened. You could have just talked to me. I almost laughed. Like you talked to me about Kyle? Or about how ladies' game night now includes a dress code and tongue wrestling in the break room. Someone stifled a chuckle nearby. She glanced around, realized how many people were still watching. Her voice dropped. We can talk about this later. We're not talking later, I said. There is no later. She blinked. So what? You're just done? No, I said. You were done. The second you brought him into my store. The second you kissed him on a night I was supposed to believe you were playing charades and drinking box wine with Leah. She tried again. It wasn't serious. It didn't mean anything. Oh, I believe that. You cheat like it's a hobby. She slapped me. I didn't move. The sound cracked across the lobby like someone dropped a wrench. Sharp. Sudden. Ugly. Every eye turned back to us. The phones came up higher. Even the hot dog guy out front had stopped grilling. And I just stood there. Let the sting ride. Then I leaned in, just close enough for only her to hear. That's the last thing you'll ever take a swing at in this building. She stood there, breathing hard. Shaking. I turned and walked away. Past the crowd. Past Kyle. Past the wide-eyed employees and frozen managers. I didn't look back. Not yet. I had work to do. Back in the security booth, I pulled the footage from the lobby cameras. 4 angles, all clean, all high resolution. I uploaded them to the internal archive under a very specific name. Breakroom test, unauthorized contact, / managerial conduct breach. Within an hour, HR had flagged it. By the time I finished my shift, Kyle was on administrative leave pending investigation. And Hannah? She tried texting that night. Please, just talk to me. Then again, an hour later. You didn't have to make it public. We could have handled this privately. And one more, just before sunrise. You don't understand. It was a mistake. He was a mistake. I didn't reply. She hadn't been trying to fix it when she thought she was getting away with it. She only wanted to fix it once she got caught. There's a difference. And that's what people like her never understand. I don't care about the drama. I care about the truth. And when you lie to someone who's trained to watch everything, you better believe he's going to hit record. There's a strange calm after a public disaster. I'm not talking about the kind that comes after storms or fires. That sharp silence is full of trauma. I mean the kind of calm that comes after everyone sees exactly who someone really is. When there's nothing left to defend and no more lies to spin. That's where Hannah was now. The night after the footage played, I sat in my living room, lights off, beer in hand, watching the lobby video again. Not because I wanted to relive it, but because I needed to be sure. Needed to make peace with it. That version of her, in that moment, sealed it all. And I wasn't the only one watching. By morning, the video had leaked. One of the part-timers, probably Tyler from Lumber who thinks TikTok is a resume, recorded the monitor with his phone and posted it with the caption, "New store opening came with a side of scandal popcorn." It had 8,000 views by 7 a.m. By noon, it was pushing 50K. It didn't take long before someone figured out Kyle's name. Someone else found his LinkedIn. Another pulled up a photo of Hannah from a charity gala last spring. The internet moves fast, especially when it smells blood. HR called me at 2 p.m., asked if I could come in for a clarification meeting. I walked in, same uniform, same boots, same calm. 2 reps were there, Linda from regional and some stiff-suited compliance guy flown in from corporate. You could smell the panic in his cologne. They showed me a paused screenshot. Hannah and Kyle mid-kiss. Linda cleared her throat. You were the one who prepared the footage? Yes, ma'am. Did you know this clip was embedded? Yes, ma'am. She blinked. It was intentionally added? I believed it to be relevant to store safety protocols. Breakroom access violations. Unrecorded after-hours visits. Managerial conduct concerns. The corporate guy coughed. So you surveilled the assistant manager? I leaned forward slightly. I used the same system the company provides. Same software. Same compliance guidelines. Kyle knowingly brought a non-employee into a restricted space during off hours. Linda nodded slowly. Corporate guy scribbled something and mumbled, Jesus Christ. By the end of that day, Kyle was officially terminated. Conduct unbecoming. Violation of internal policy. Compromised managerial trust. But here's the kicker. The woman from corporate who'd watched it unfold in real time? Turns out she wasn't just a compliance rep. She was from marketing. And she loved the footage. The drama, she said. The rawness of it. We're obviously cutting the clip, but the way it humanizes the store, like real people making real choices. I had to walk out before I burst out laughing. Meanwhile, Hannah was trying to save her face like it was still glued on. First, she texted, I've taken some time to reflect. I realize now how deeply I hurt you. Then later, I'd like to meet and talk through everything. Just us. And finally, when I didn't respond, don't do this. You're destroying my life over one mistake. One mistake. Funny how she never called it that when she was making it. When she was curling her hair and laughing at text messages, she'd turn her phone away to read. I didn't reply. Instead, I spent my energy cleaning house. I called a lawyer. Got a head start on divorce papers. I moved my stuff into the guest room and told her, by note taped to the bathroom mirror, that she had 2 weeks to move out. I didn't scream, didn't curse, just delivered it like an eviction notice from a landlord who finally ran out of patience. She showed up that night, didn't even knock, just let herself in like everything was still hers. I was sitting in the kitchen, eating cereal out of the mixing bowl, scrolling through a sale on drill presses. She stood there, keys still in hand. You're serious? I kept scrolling. Dead serious. I thought, after the video, you'd get it out of your system. That this was just your way of punishing me. No, I said. This was my way of showing you that I saw you. That I've been seeing you. And that your little half-truths don't hold up under security-grade footage. She sat down across from me, still wearing that white top. The one from the reopening. Rick, it wasn't love. I looked up. Then it was even worse. That caught her off guard. If it wasn't love, I said, then you threw away our marriage for nothing. For a quick thrill. For a joke about wood stain and a guy who wears cologne to work in a building full of fertilizer. I was lonely, she said. You were always working nights. I was working nights so we could afford your weekends. Her jaw tightened. You were distant. You were dishonest. We sat there in the dead space between old memories and new realities. Then she dropped the final card. I lost my job. I tilted my head. She continued. After the video went viral, the school district started asking questions. About judgment. About role models. They said it wasn't a good look for a counselor. That's unfortunate, I said flatly. You don't care? I set the bowl down. I cared for years, Hannah. Cared when you came home late and lied about it. Cared when you told me I was imagining things. Cared when I saw you text him, can't wait to see you again, face blowing a kiss, while you claimed you were at Leah's house. She blinked. You looked? No, I said. You just never learned how to turn off notifications. We sat in silence. Then she whispered, what do you want from me? Nothing, I said. That's the whole point. I got up, took my bowl to the sink, rinsed it, dried it. You've got 12 days, I said. After that, I changed the locks. She didn't yell, didn't cry. She just left. I watched her car drive away for the last time. And for the first time since all this started, the house felt like mine again. You ever hear how some buildings aren't built to collapse? They're built to crumble slowly? That's what the aftermath felt like. Not a boom, not a dramatic explosion, just a steady creak as the walls of our life leaned in, bent by lies, and folded inward. Quiet, cold, and completely expected. I'd always thought if something like this happened, catching my wife cheating, exposing it in public, everything going sideways, I'd feel something big. Rage, maybe. Triumph. Regret. But the truth? I just felt clear. It was like someone had finally wiped the fog off the windshield. The week after she left, I filed the paperwork. No fault divorce, no children, no shared business. I kept the house, the truck, and the retirement account I'd been quietly building on night shifts while she maxed out cards on self-care. She contested none of it. I think she was too busy trying to find a new job or bury her name deep enough that Google would forget she ever existed. But the internet doesn't forget. Especially not when someone catches their spouse kissing a manager on a security camera at a hardware store grand opening in front of a live audience, and it ends up on 3 different YouTube compilations titled Caught Red-Handed. My personal favorite comment? Bro exposed her like a drywall stud on demo day. Had me laughing for 10 minutes. The video was still circulating. Not viral anymore. The buzz had died down. But it still popped up now and then. A Reddit thread. A meme. A screenshot used in a TikTok about signs you're married to a Kyle. I didn't feed it. Didn't post. Didn't comment. Just watched. Let the fire burn without adding fuel. At the store, I became a minor legend. People stopped me in the aisles like I was a war hero. Hey, you're the security guy, right? You really did that? Like on purpose. My sister-in-law's friend saw the footage and said it was the coldest thing she's ever witnessed. One guy, some hipster in a flannel who looked like he bought hammers for aesthetic, even said, that was art, man. Straight up performance revenge. I shrugged. Just hit play. Corporate, surprisingly, never disciplined me. I think they were too worried about optics. One memo circulated saying something like, while not standard protocol, the footage incident did raise awareness around after-hours access. We thank the team for their vigilance. Translation, don't do it again, but thanks for the views. Kyle, gone. Last I heard, he was applying to be a warehouse associate in a town 2 counties over. A far cry from assistant regional manager, or whatever fake title power trip he'd been riding before Hannah joined his fan club. Hannah, though, that was the part one didn't expect. She didn't beg. She didn't scream. She just drifted. A few texts. One email. All apologizing in different fonts. All saying the same thing. I miss you. It was never supposed to happen. You were always good to me. Too good. That last one made me laugh. I used to think being too good was a compliment. Turns out, in some people's mouths, it's an excuse. A way to blame you for their boredom. Their lack of impulse control. Their inability to recognize value until it's halfway out the door with divorce papers in hand. I didn't respond. Instead, I spent my time fixing up the house. Funny thing about heartbreak, it pairs well with home improvement. I tore up the old carpet in the den and laid down vinyl plank flooring, the kind that clicks into place like puzzle pieces and never lets go. I repainted the master bedroom, got rid of the old beige she picked out and went with slate gray and deep navy. Tossed her decorative pillows. Kept one, the small black one that said, "Home is where the heart is." I flipped it over and stitched in white thread. So I changed the locks. Kept it on the couch for visitors. Brad, my buddy from the IT desk, came by one weekend to help mount a new TV. "You holding up okay?" he asked, halfway through wiring the HDMI ports. I nodded. Better than ever. "You don't miss her at all?" "Sometimes I miss who I thought she was," I admitted. "But no, not her. Not anymore." He nodded, didn't press. That night, after the house was quiet, I found myself going through old photos. Not out of nostalgia. More like curiosity. Forensics. Trying to see if I could spot the cracks that were always there. And I did. In every photo from the last 2 years, I looked tired. Tight-smiled. Eyes shadowed from graveyard hours and emotional exhaustion. She, on the other hand, looked great. Bright. Glowing. Not because of happiness. Because she was unburdened. Unwatched. Untethered. She thought I didn't notice. That I couldn't read between the lines of her changed routines and vague texts and new perfumes. But I saw it all. And I caught it all. Because you can't lie to someone who makes a living watching shadows move. 2 weeks after the divorce went through, I got a letter. Not from her. From her mother. Real old school. Handwritten. Cursive so tight it could cut glass. "Dear Rick, I don't know what happened between you and Hannah, and she won't tell me much. I just wanted you to know I always thought of you as family. If you ever need anything, anything at all, you're welcome in our home." I smiled at that. Polite. Simple. Sad. I folded it up and slipped it into a drawer labeled proof. Not of guilt, just that I mattered. That someone out there remembered what I brought to the table before she flipped it over. The following Saturday, I went out. First time in months. Just a bar. Local place. Nothing fancy. Wore clean jeans, a plain t-shirt, and a quiet confidence I hadn't felt since before everything fell apart. I wasn't looking for anything. But that's usually when something finds you. A woman sat down 2 stools over. Ordered whiskey neat. Glanced my way. Said, "Aren't you the guy from the hardware store video?" I smiled. "That depends. Was I the guy kissing or the guy watching?" She laughed. "Definitely the guy watching. And winning." We talked. Her name was Maya. Real estate agent. Divorced, smart, sharp-witted. The kind of person who could spot a cracked foundation and call it what it was, and who respected a man who knew how to fix what others ignored. We talked for 2 hours. I walked her to her car. Didn't kiss her. Just said, "Maybe I'll see you again." She smiled. "Maybe you will." Driving home, windows down, spring air cutting through the silence, I realized something. Closure isn't about forgiveness. It's about freedom. And I was finally there. You'd think after everything, the footage, the fallout, the way she crumbled in front of 100 people, that the story would have ended like a hammer drop. Something dramatic. Final. But life doesn't usually end things that way. It just tapers off until one day you realize the last thread was cut a while ago. That's how I knew it was over with Hannah. Not when she left. Not even when the divorce finalized. But when I got the last envelope. White. Thin. No return address. Just one word handwritten on the back flap in blue pen. Closure. I almost didn't open it. But curiosity still has its claws, even in someone like me. Inside, a letter. A single page. Neatly typed. Left aligned. Like a formal apology wrapped in resignation. Rick, I won't pretend you owe me a response. You don't. I won't rewrite what happened. You saw it. So did everyone else. What I will say is this. I thought I was smart enough to lie clean. I thought I was careful. That if I kept it simple, didn't confess, and used words like girls' night and wine and inside joke, you'd never look too closely. But you always looked closely. That's what made you good. And that's what I forgot. I wish I'd told the truth before the cameras did. No excuses. No begging. No last-ditch guilt. Just that. I folded it in half and placed it next to her mother's letter, in that same drawer marked proof. The final entry. Then I closed it for good. That week, I took 2 days off. First real break in over a year. I didn't go far. Drove upstate. Rented a little cabin near the lake. No Wi-Fi. No cable. Just firewood, coffee, and quiet. And that's where I finally watched it. The unedited footage. I kept it off social. Off the cloud. It wasn't for the internet. It was for me. Just 5 seconds. No screaming. No groping. No smoking gun. Just a look. The way she leaned into him. The way he touched her back. The way she tilted her chin. Not because she was caught in passion, but because she was comfortable. That was the part one hadn't been able to admit before. She wasn't torn. She wasn't confused. She was happy. That's what betrayal looks like when it's well fed. I didn't cry. Didn't even flinch. I just hit delete. And that was the end of it. Back at the store, things moved on. They always do. Kyle's name was never mentioned again. Corporate installed 2 new cameras in the break room to ensure safety and transparency, and quietly updated the employee handbook to include inappropriate use of restricted areas. I got a raise. Not a big one, but enough to feel like a nod from upstairs. The store manager, Marlene, brought me into her office one day and said, "You ever think about stepping up? Like management?" She smiled. "Like command center. Head of all security. You train the others. Oversee all locations in state. More money. More travel." I leaned back. "Will I still get to work alone at 2 a.m.? She laughed. "Some nights." I told her I'd think about it. But I already knew. That life, the one where I had to watch everything, record everything, prove everything, that was ending. Because I was finally ready to live in a place where trust didn't need a backup hard drive. Maya and I went on our 3rd date that Saturday. We didn't go anywhere fancy. Just a long drive to the county fair. She beat me at ring toss, and I told her she cheated. She rolled her eyes and said, "You're not always the guy with the footage." I like that. She knew the story. Of course she did. Everybody did. But she didn't ask questions. She didn't need to. Because she looked at me like I wasn't defined by the worst moment of my life, but by the way I stood through it. And maybe that was the real closure. Not the footage. Not the letter. Not the firestorm of gossip and wow bro DMs. But the simple act of being seen again. Not watched. Seen. The next time Hannah tried to call, I didn't answer. Not because I was angry. Because I wasn't hers anymore. Because she lost the right to know what came next. She had her version of the story. And now, so did everyone else. But mine, the real one, wasn't about revenge. It was about control. Taking it back. One wire at a time. One clip at a time. One night alone in a room full of cameras, until the truth blinked red and told the whole world what I'd known for months. That sometimes, reading between the lines isn't a talent. It's a survival skill. And I'd finally made it out. Subscribe to the channel